So you obviously wanted to get in touch to talk about social, like I guess media, and you got some questions for me?
Yeah, mate. Like I suppose we operate a commercial cleaning company.
Commercial, sorry, say that again.
A commercial cleaning company.
Yep.
We sort of started on this journey. Well, I suppose like all of us, we had a couple of digital agencies that didn't sort of work out very well.
They never do.
I was actually put onto a guy by the name of Marcus Sheridan, who has a book called They Ask You Answer.
Yep.
And that sort of started us on the internal journey of doing our own stuff.
Yep.
So I've got a content writer now.
Yep.
She produces on average 3 articles a week.
Is that someone that you've hired internally, or are they a contractor?
Yeah. No, she's internal.
That's cool.
And it's been the best thing we've ever done. She's currently finishing up an ebook.
Yep.
And that sort of stuff. And like we've also engaged another company to do some coaching and training for us and that sort of stuff. And I'm just about to sort of start advertising for a videographer.
Yep. What made you go with a content writer first? Was it just low-hanging fruit, or you thought that written word was more?
Content writer, you need written content for SEO.
Yep.
And that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Plus, it's a learning journey. And now the videographer and the content writer, she'll be sort of running the videographer.
Yep.
And they'll be able to play off each other.
Yep.
Like the videographer will produce a video which she'll be able to spin an article out of.
Yep.
And vice versa.
Yep.
But I see video being probably, especially in our industry, in your industry.
Yep.
People can see stuff.
Yep.
So I've sort of been looking around, and I've been watching a couple of American guys that are really good on YouTube. And then I just happen to be, and don't shoot me, I still haven't put the sprinklers in. I've got them.
I don't care what you do with them once you've bought them, mate.
But one day I sort of went, I was going to go to Barnes.
Yep.
And buy these sprinklers. And then I went, I wonder what sprinklers I should put in. So I just, in YouTube, I think I typed in Rainbird or something, and you came up.
Yep.
So I started watching you, and you've got multiple businesses. I've seen the Lawn Hub.
Yep.
I haven't seen any videos that relate to your landscaping yet.
Well, and that's because we don't do any, and I don't spend enough time down there. Geographically, it's 40, 50 minutes from my house. It was run under management prior to me purchasing it. It's still running under the same management, so it's probably getting less attention than it deserves because it's one of those squeaky wheel situations, but we do need to do more content for that.
And I suppose, and then I thought, well, I'll reach out to you, and I'd like to ask you, like, stuff you've learned and that sort of stuff. And I suppose it's a little bit about, we've got a podcast that we can put out there and maybe help other business owners demystify this whole digital world.
Yep.
And I started my business 27 years ago, so when I started it, Yellow Pages still existed.
I'm so happy they're not around anymore. Those salespeople were animals.
The year we started our business, the World Wide Web was just being spoken about.
Yeah, so what's this, 93, 94?
Yeah, mobile phones were the size of a house brick.
Yep.
I remember, I tell my staff that if I went to a certain part of Brisbane, if I wanted to make a mobile phone call, it was worthwhile me getting in the car driving 2 kilometres up the road.
Yep.
Because remember in those days when Telstra had the areas? You paid more depending on how far you were away from shit?
I started high school in 1995.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay. My content writer who's 22, I was sitting around the lunchroom table the other day talking about sand shoes.
Yep.
And she said, she had to stop me and said, I need to stop you and ask you a question. What the hell's a sand shoe?
Yep.
Like, these are 22-year-olds. They have no idea.
And you'd be freaking out about this more than me, but when you start seeing people that apply for jobs and their date of birth starts with 200, like the year of birth, and you're like, whoa, hang on a second.
Wait a minute.
I remember what I was doing in 2000. But that's the reality of it. I think you're right. I think it's probably the right time for you to hire video if you can not squeeze it in, but if you've got the budget for it. we went video first. I don't know why. I guess it just felt right. Probably the same reason with you with your text. Like it just felt right. It's interesting that we're talking about it because I actually was having a conversation on Facebook last night about hiring a content writer for us, because I believe that that's one of our gaps. We've got a graphic designer full time and a videographer full time, but we're not writing enough written content, and it's not something I enjoy doing. So I think we need to hire someone to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, it was something that I tried to do. We tried to get our digital agency, but they can't get our message. They never got the message right because they're not in-house.
Yeah.
The benefit I saw about employing the content writer is she's in the office all day.
Yep.
She's talking to the team all day.
Yep.
I suppose the one thing I would say is, yeah, you don't put them in silos.
No, you can't. Yeah.
Marketing and sales.
Yep.
Marketing and sales are the same department.
Yep.
And they must be talking to her. And if they can overhear, like she can overhear the operational talk.
Yep.
So the operational guys come in and they're whinging about something. She's taking notes and going, is that an article in there?
Yep.
I strongly urge, if you haven't read it, to go and read They Ask You Answer.
Yeah, I've written that down. Yep.
Because basically the philosophy is if your customers have got a question, the answer should be on the website.
Yes. Yep.
Be it either in written or video, but the answer should be there.
Yeah, which for us it's not. And you get people that kind of contact us and they're like, oh, you produce so much content, and I'm like, we do nothing. We like, you look at our Instagram feed. When was the last time we posted on Waterpro's Instagram feed? Like a month ago, and it's. I don't think you'll ever be satisfied with the amount you're putting out, but.
Yeah.
Is this?
I think you've got an interesting thing because you're B2B and B2C.
Yes, and Lawn Hub is only B2B and a little bit B2C, whereas Waterpro is. Sorry. Lawn Hub's very B2C and a little bit more B2B now that we're looking at reseller model. But Waterpro was heavily trade based. Like we didn't have retail customers kind of found us because the trade had done a job and they broke something and they needed to come to the shop to buy it for them. But those tradespeople, especially in the irrigation business, still have the same questions. Like nothing, like the landscapers. Irrigation is a 5 to 3% of their business, or 1% of their business. So they don't all have irrigation specialists. So I think what you just said about having, if the client has a question, it should be on your website. It's very true, and we're definitely a long way from being good at that.
Yeah, and the one thing that we're entering, it's going to go up on our website next week, is a pricing page.
Yep.
And I'm putting my pricing out there.
Yep.
It's the one thing our industry does not want to answer.
If you're the first person to do it, you'll benefit from it. Yes. And you've probably seen that elsewhere, but I don't know who talked about it. Maybe Gary Vee talked about it. But if you expose your industry's secrets and you do it first, then you'll be trusted. And I think, I don't know. I actually had a conversation. I messaged a landscape client this morning about it. The landscape industry don't show their process. So that, and like obviously if you're doing cleaning, like showing the process, it doesn't mean someone's going to go copy it. Someone might copy it, but it doesn't mean your clients are going to do their own cleaning. Like just because they know how you do it doesn't mean they're going to do it themselves and they know your secrets. And if your competitors see it and change their process, it doesn't mean it doesn't take from you. And I think too many people are worried about sharing the secrets and then that once they've shared it, they've lost it. Whereas I think the benefit you'd pick up from people seeing how you do things and seeing how seriously you do things and the quality of the products and I don't know, if it's organic or non-organic or whatever matters to you guys in business, it'll help you find the right clients.
Well, a guy I've been watching on YouTube in America called the Dirt Monkey, he's just landscaping.
Yep.
But some of this, I watched one of the videos he did the other day because I wanted to sort of see how he structured the video.
Yep.
But it was all on teaching other contractors how to price a job.
Yeah.
But it's all about, and that's part of the reason why I'm putting pricing out there, because I'm going to put pricing out there in the hope that other cleaning companies see, holy crap, that's what he charges.
Yep.
So that's what I can charge.
Yep. Brings the average up.
And I'm dragging them up.
Without getting into that dangerous territory of collusion. because you're not. You're just sharing your.
Yeah, we're just sharing information.
Well, it's for your client. If your competitors happen to see it, then that's just one of those unfortunate things about the internet, isn't it? But it was never that way. Look, we've got our business. Your business has an element of art in it still. Like you know, if we sell you like this, like you can go buy this from 7 different shops. The value of the sell price of that product, it's going to vary from location to location, and it's arguable that it doesn't really matter who you buy it from because it's the same thing. So the only variable is maybe the customer service and the delivery and the backup and the support, and that's what we try and communicate. But it's probably more dangerous for us to put our pricing online than it is for you, because you can just go on to waterpro.com.au or whatever irrigation shops and you can just go, well, they are the cheapest, I'm going to choose to buy from them. I think with service-based businesses like yours, there's another element there of the quality of the job and like the trust. You know, you're in people's private homes, or I don't know if you do commercial and residential, but you know, you're in their offices where they've got confidential information, and there's got to be an element of trust there. And I think that choosing the cheapest cleaner's probably not the smartest thing to do, kind of thing.
No. But we're making it like we've got an article in the ebook coming out. There's 5 different types of cleaning companies. There's your mum and dad / sole operator.
Yep.
Your franchise operation. Your contracting model, who is illegally paying people. You've then got your employee-based SME. Which
you're talking sham contracting where they...
Yes.
Yep. I'm really surprised the government haven't come down on that any harder. I'm sure that's coming.
Oh, they are. They're picking on the cleaning industry.
Yep.
And the upside is I reckon we're within 2 years away from having a cleaning standard.
Yep.
That's legislated.
Yep.
That every business must make sure they adhere to.
Yep.
And then I think licensing will come.
Yeah, you're in a very similar stage to the landscape industry in South Australia. The licensing conversation's happening now, and obviously with licensing comes public acknowledgement or awareness of the quality of the offering and the service and the skill set, and then obviously the profit will follow, or the ability for you to charge what's fair for the work that you do. Going back to the ebook, what drove you to write that? Was that just something that you came up with, or what's the?
We've got 2 ebooks on our website at the moment. I did one which is the 10 questions to ask a cleaning company.
Yep.
Which is pretty in depth. This ebook is going to be sort of at the bottom of the pricing page. So if someone goes through the pricing page and they're still sort of on the fence.
Yep.
The ebook's going to be called The Ultimate Guide to Selecting Your Cleaning Company.
Do they need to download it? You capture their email from that?
Yes, I can capture I capture their email from it.
Yep.
So it's going to be gated.
Yep.
But then we've got a whole pile of stuff in our learning centre, which is like a whole pile of checklists. So if you said what should I be looking for my cleaners to do in my office? There's a checklist that's ungated.
Yep.
You can download it and knock yourself out. I don't get the email address for that.
Yep.
Everything like that. So, but then we've got the next page will be the sustainability page we're going to be doing on our new website, and that will have an ebook as well. And that's 5 ways sustainable cleaning can save you money.
Yep.
Because it's actually really funny, but if you actually go to the latest sustainable cleaning techniques, it will actually save you money.
Okay.
It's productivity. It's amazing.
Yep.
But yeah, I sort of want to pick your brains because you've got a videographer.
Yep.
I think your other representative I was communicating with said that your videographer is at uni.
As in he was at. We had 2 videographers up until a month ago. Now we have 1. So Duffy, who is filming this, is here on. Well, he came from England a week before COVID lockdowns, and came here with a what's your degree or diploma?
Media production.
Media production. So he's done media production at uni, and then was just looking for a job. So we put the ad out on Seek, and then Did you apply through Seek? Yep. So he applied through Seek and came in, had an interview, and did Trent hire you? Yeah. So my previous videographer hired my current videographer. So he left. So my first videographer I hired, he was, I think we had it on Seek, and then he applied for the job, and then I'd kind of tasked, whenever they leave, I kind of task them with finding their replacement, because they kind of, I don't feel like you could do it for more than a year or 18 months, especially if you're vlogging. I think like listening to my voice 6 or 8 hours a day and editing me talking about the same shit, eventually you either need to kind of grow within the company and move into a senior role, which is what we're trying to do with Duffy, or you just go chase your passion. So Aiden, he was at uni, he was finishing his third year. And what was he doing? Something different, but still media, digital communication or something?
Yeah, something like that.
So he wanted to do different things. So he's gone to work for an agency doing content creation for things like supermarkets and shopping centres and more ad world stuff.
Yeah.
But all of them have come from a Seek ad, and many of them, that Seek ad being shared in for private Facebook groups for videographers and content creators looking for work, or was it not looking for work, more just a general group. Yeah, it's a freelance community. I would say for me, and this might be the same for you, it'll be easier for you to hire a videographer right now than a cleaner, I think.
Okay.
Because there's so many of... What's that?
Trying to find cleaners as well.
Yeah, well, same with landscapers, same with salespeople, same with truck drivers. But there's a lot of people that, like, you can be a videographer and editor and be 16 and still at high school. Like there's a whole generation or half generation of people that have grown up wanting to be YouTubers that are maybe not going to become a YouTuber or haven't quite cracked enough of a market to know that they're going to be able to survive purely from YouTube revenue, that have all the skill sets around filming. They're comfortable holding a camera, they're comfortable being in public, like, because that's a really weird shift for you to have someone following you around with a camera or filming, and it just feels second nature. Like it's still kind of weird walking into a shopping center and you've got someone filming you. Like, it's different. But the YouTube community, or the people that were producing content on YouTube, they're just used to it. It's just second nature. They've always had a camera attached to them, and quite often they'll be looking for work to supplement their passion. They'll still want to be able to make their videos at night, and then they can do your work however you see fit. So I don't know if that answers the question.
So do you structure it? Do you like sit down and do deliberate videos, or
sometimes? I think initially it was very vloggy, and it was meant to be more just following me around. My day doesn't have enough exciting content in it. Well, that's not true. It would be exciting for some people, but if we're trying to work on an 80-20 rule, that 20% of the stuff I do might appeal to 80% of the world, or the world that's interested, then there's no point in them filming me all the time. Like, there'll be occasional snippets where I'll say something that's, relatively intelligent. That happens rarely, and then they can turn that into an Instagram clip. But the thing is, like, every hour of quality filming could take 4 to 8 hours of editing. So you kind of have to pick and choose your battles and go, well, like for us with one videographer, if I can do a podcast a week and we do a thing called a deep dive where I'll go out onto site and visit a site with a landscaper and talk about what they've done. So you could do a before and after on an ex-rental clean, or I don't know how crazy you go if it's like forensic, this is a murder, that would be interesting. Like, this is where someone was killed, this is how it looked when we left. Like, you could film that for 4 to 6 hours, and that might take your videographer 2 days to edit. So you might only want to, how you were saying, like your what are you calling the person? Your copywriter, or your written content creator? She is producing 3 articles a week, right? From what you've said. My first initial reaction was like, why can't you do 5 or 7? That doesn't seem like a lot. But the reality is, it takes time. And it's the same with video editing. Like, they're artists as much as it's a challenge, because they're working for business owners. So these guys are getting me say, I need more shit done, like more content. But then their inner artist is saying, but it's not artistically right, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like it needs to be good, but it doesn't need to be great. Let's get this out. We're not in this, one video a week thing. Like that's a very expensive video. So we try to plan, but we don't do a very good job, to answer your question. And sometimes it's a lack of availability from me, and other times it's because of the workload that they've got. We've kind of got to a nice place where I'm doing a video in the car every morning on the way to work, which takes, 10 minutes to edit. So that's the first thing Duffy will do. A podcast, if it's recorded like this, can generally be edited unless I say something really inappropriate or you say something really inappropriate and it has to be removed. Generally, it doesn't take that long to edit because it's just angle. But when we go out and do artistic work, like going out to a landscaping site and actually interviewing the client and almost making a Better Homes and Gardens 15-minute segment, that can take a long time, from a few days. So it would really come down to what you felt like you needed each week. Like if you wanted to do a podcast with potential clients, or if you wanted to do visiting, like a bit of a insight into a day in the life of what happened, what your cleaners are doing. I don't know what your feelings are around what you think what people might be interested in.
I thought of, to be honest, I thought a couple of my guys putting a GoPro on it.
Yep.
For 8 hours.
Yep.
Just record what they do.
Yep.
Throughout the day.
Yep.
Because a lot of people don't realise, like we did do some photos in a LinkedIn post a month ago. Do you know that your cleaner, a good cleaner, will get on his hands and knees to clean the toilet?
Yep. Whereas an average cleaner will stay on their shoes, on their feet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And this was a photo of Anthony, who would be 6 foot tall.
Yep.
And that sort of stuff. And
yep.
Yeah, clients were blown away to see that. Geez, you guys get your hands and knees. Of course we do.
Yep.
Right? How else do you think we're going to clean the toilet properly?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, because we sort of ummed and ahed. Like I think my initial thing will be a videographer, and then I'm wondering whether I will have a videographer and then an editor.
No.
No?
No. And do you agree?
To an extent.
He doesn't like editing. All right, my opinion, and I'm not a videographer or an editor, is that you're better off having 2 videographers that edit their own work than having one of each. Because when, like a lot of times when they're filming, and this is my opinion, I'll be interested to hear Duffy's next, when they're filming, they've got an idea of how that's all going to go together, and they're capturing angles, and they're remembering things that should and shouldn't be happening. If that gets handed over to someone that has to edit, that person then has to recontextualize the whole video. They have to watch the whole thing from scratch. So the person that's filmed it's already seen it, whereas the person that's editing it now has to watch it all from scratch. So if that took an hour, there's a whole other hour gone. Why do you say no?
It depends on how big the team of videographers
is.
Yeah. And depending on skill sets
yep.
of that person as well, you could have somebody who's a way better editor, just like sitting on a computer all day. So
I think Duffy's saying it depends on the size of your team. Like what size team are we, if we had 10?
Like, I don't know, 5 videographers.
5 videographers and 3 editors, that could work that way. He's saying that some of the editors may not be comfortable going out on sites and doing that kind of work, but they're really good at editing. So I would say, if it's only 2 of you, I would say you might find a mix. Like, did Aiden edit your work and vice versa? Well, not really. Yeah. So that we had two videographers. Aiden was working 3 days a week, and Duffy was doing it full time. So it would just depend. Like if we did a training session where they both filmed it, it didn't matter. Like we do a lot of that. Or if we did a training session where one of them filmed it, the other one could edit it. I think I would try to find that perfect human that can do both, which is the YouTubers that they've filmed and they've edited. But that, I guess you'd feel that out in time, and you'd talk to the people, because you might find that they don't want to edit other people's work, or they don't. And look, they work for you, but the reality is, you also want to, like, you don't hire these people and do their job for them. So, you'd find that with all your other staff, like you want to listen to what they have to say. I don't micromanage their department. Like Duffy runs the department. It has been a 3-person department. I try to stay out of it and let him choose how. I wouldn't even know like who edited it. I mean, you get a taste for it because they have different accents on their video editing. Like you can see, like like a director of a movie. Like you'll see who's edited it by, how much comedy's kind of injected in there, or how like different fonts that are being used on screen. We try to keep our style. We've got a style guideline now, which I got pulled up on the other day for not adhering to. Well, I didn't, but someone else did. So you get all that in place and try to have consistent branding as you would with your your uniforms and your logos on your cars. So
yeah, well, we got logos everywhere.
Yeah. What I'm curious, why do you want? Like, what's the end goal? Are you trying to grow the business, or are you trying to grow your personal profile, or improve the industry as a whole? What's the goal?
Well, it's probably all three.
Yep.
That you just mentioned. It's growing the business. It's moving on from, as I said, when we first started, there was Yellow Pages.
Yep.
And then we moved. Like a lot of our business came from telemarketing.
Yep.
Which I refuse to do nowadays. Some companies still do it. And then it's the digital world. And I suppose for a number of years we were sort of caught in limbo. We sort of weren't using telemarketing. And we weren't sort of doing anything digitally. And
Yellow Pages was kind of done.
Gone.
Yep. Out of interest, at its peak, how much were you spending on Yellow Pages a year?
I never spent anything in Yellow Pages, but at its peak, I was probably spending, surprisingly, I had a full-time telemarketer in-house.
Yep.
Because it was the most productive way, and that was probably $100K a year.
And so they'd ring up and say, "Hi, I'm from In-Tec.
Yep.
Are you happy with your current cleaning provider? Can we come out and see you?" Yep.
Whereas now it's all about digital. So as you would understand, like a good content writer, she's a journalist. She went to university.
Yep.
First job out of uni. It's still a $60K spend, whichever way you think about it.
I feel bad about the journalists that come out of uni, and I don't really know, but I think that they go to uni because they want to make a difference and write some real pieces, and then they come out and then they realise how fucked up the actual media industry is, and how you basically need to stay inside these lines if you want your work to be published. And I think it'll be a good opportunity for guys like you and me to be able to pick up really intelligent journalists, videographers, artists, and let them actually do what they wanted, like be free to actually write the truth rather than what sells, maybe. I might be wrong.
And she loves writing.
Yeah.
Like she does it 10 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yep.
Absolutely loves writing.
Yep.
And I suppose it's like a videographer.
Yep.
It's also but one of my big drives is I've been in business for 27 years.
Yep.
So when I started this business 27 years ago, the whole goal was to make money. That's now a secondary goal.
Because you've got all the money.
I don't really need. I could retire tomorrow.
Yeah.
But so I'm all about improving my cleaners' lives. That's number one.
Yep.
And making sure that they're paid properly as employees.
Yep.
No sham contracting.
Yep.
All that sort of stuff. But also improving our industry. I want to leave a mark on our industry. Needs to get away from this. Like, I don't know whether you would be horrified to hear this, but a lot of our players are quoting $40 to $45 an hour.
A lot of the competitors.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm wondering why they don't make any money.
Yep.
Like when a cleaner costs me 40.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like it's ridiculous, and they're not like the three T's in our industry that are always missing is tools, training, and time.
Yep.
It's the one thing that's I did a walkthrough of a site on Monday, and I'm going to do a LinkedIn post about this. Don't blame the cleaners. This site that I walked around, yes, the client wasn't 100% happy and that sort of stuff, and everyone I spoke to that ran a department, they all wanted to have a bitch about the cleaners.
Yep.
The cleaners don't do this.
Are these your cleaners?
No.
Okay.
This is a site that I was quoting.
Yep.
And looking through my eyes of 27 years experience, I could tell that the cleaners that were going to this site every day were absolutely doing their best.
Yep.
But I could also tell that there was no equipment in the cleaners room.
Yep.
Right, so the cleaners are bringing their equipment on site, right? So probably in the boot of their car.
Yep.
So they've got a mop and a bucket and an old vacuum cleaner and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
So they're not given the tools, the proper tools to do the job. They're not given the training. And I can also tell what's happened on this site. This site is a large site down at Port of Brisbane, and they've added extra demountables and extra toilets to try to separate the staff
for COVID,
in preparation for a possible COVID outbreak.
Yep.
But the cleaner's time, I could pretty much put money on it, has not been increased.
Well, when you started talking about time, there was two things I was thinking about there. One, the time hadn't been increased, but I would say two, they quote those jobs at $45 an hour, and then say we've quoted it at, well, they don't tell the cleaner, but it's a 2-hour job, but it needs to be done in an hour and a half, because then that's where they'll make their profit. Work it out of their staff. It's not an unfamiliar story.
And so it's me improving the industry, and that's why I'm putting pricing out there. I'm going to be putting videos out there explaining to like potential clients that, like, if you're unhappy, it's either your cleaning company is shit house, or your budget is wrong. Like, if your budget's out of whack, right, if what you're wanting to be done should cost $1,000 a week and you're paying $600,
makes sense.
Well, what do you want? Like, you can change cleaning companies as much as you want, but you're never going to fix the problem.
I think you'll find if you do start promoting that as well, you'll have a funnel of staff as well. I don't know, you're saying trouble finding cleaners? Yeah, because they'll say, well, I want to work for him. He obviously can pay his staff what they are meant to get paid, but also sounds like he cares about them. They're getting the right tools and equipment. I'm seeing it with a mate over here who's in a trade who has a similar, the sham contracting in that trade is really high. And the hard thing is that the people, there's a lot of migrant workers that have come to Australia that have to be working, so they're chasing the work, because obviously with COVID they couldn't, they can't stop working because they have to still have to meet their requirements to keep their visa. So they've come to South Australia because we're open, but they've been working under sham contracting models, say in Victoria, where they've been getting a certain, say $33 an hour or $35 an hour, but they have to invoice that. Now they're coming here and going, hey, I was getting paid $35 an hour in Melbourne, and then he's like, yeah, that's fine, I'm paying you 29 or 32 on the books, right? So you've got super, you've got this, like it's all, and they're like, no, I want 35 an hour. And so I think that there's that other side of sham contracting that no one's, like, obviously it's incorrect for legal reasons, but then there's the other side of it. It makes it really hard for genuine operators to hire their staff because there's no education out there. And I think what you're doing is great by going out and talking about it, because it'll educate your employees or your potential employees as much as your potential clients.
Yeah. Well, we've discovered that they've got their Facebook groups.
Yeah. They will talk to each other.
Talk to each other.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple pop out of someone's Facebook, one of our other cleaners' Facebook groups, because they're looking for work and they're sick to death of. They're sick to death of cleaning companies. Like, I did a LinkedIn post, which I'm pretty impressed with. But
sounds like me. I love all my work.
It got 13,000 views.
How much?
13,000 so far.
That's cool. I don't do enough on LinkedIn. Duffy, start doing more on LinkedIn.
And the post was entitled "Enough is Enough," and I went on about a cleaner that she was asked to clean 10 sets of toilets and 10 lunchroom in an hour and a half in the city building.
Yeah, and do a good job.
It can't be done.
Yeah,
it just can't be done.
Yeah.
But this was some cleaning company that they've only just started up, and they're out there underquoting and abusing the cleaners.
Yep.
She came to work for me. I interviewed her, and I just saw that, like, this is one of those good cleaners.
Yeah.
Like, she worked for Light and Easy for 8.5 years, and that's an organisation that's really hard to work for.
Yep.
I put her in as a trial as a full-time day cleaner.
Yep.
She came to us through an ad that we were looking for someone for 10 hours a week.
Yep.
And she's now a full-time day cleaner. The client loves her.
Yep.
She's a great cleaner, and honestly, you go out on site and she's smiling.
Do you so you've got cleaners that are on a site full time?
Yes.
The sites are that big?
I've got sites, multiple sites, where I've got full-time day cleaners, full-time night cleaners.
Wow.
That sort of stuff. But I've also got cleaners that are part-time. We do try to get all of our people, even we've got a whole pile of sites around a commercial area in Brisbane and I could run 3 to 4 part-timers.
Yep.
But we prefer to run full-timers.
Yep.
I try to give them as much a secure income, a secure job. That way they can go and build their lives. They can go and buy a house.
Yep. Well, they can have annual leave. They know they can go to their kids' sports days, whatever. And I've really been playing around with this idea in my head lately of creating, I guess, a company basic income or a minimum level that I believe people should get paid to be able to live above the line, or like not that minimum wage. So obviously the government set their, retail level 2 or retail level 1 minimum, and I still feel like I still look at that and look at, I'm not there yet, and if any of my staff see this, they'll be like, whoa, where's my money? I want more money. But I just feel like there's a number there that for the right people, because this would be the caveat, that you'd have to pass probation, and probation would be, very clear, these are the expectations. But if you're good enough to stay here after your 6 or 3 months, you'll get paid whatever the number is. So say the minimum, I think retail level 1, say 47,800, it's 55 or it's 60 or whatever the number is, and that's your, like, if you come on board and you're part of our team and you meet those criteria, then I believe you should be paid this. I don't know if that's where you're at. I mean, it's hard because you need to then be able to charge enough to do that. Is that the kind of place you're at?
That's where I want to get. I'll tell you, and I think the company might be, it's an American company. I think it might be called Gratified, but you could search under Google $70,000 salary and it should come up.
Yep.
This guy, he basically handles credit card transactions for small businesses.
Yep.
That's the business model. And he was booming, and he was earning millions.
Yep.
And it was one day that he happened to be out in his office on the floor, and he was talking to one of his staff members, and she was saying that she was looking like she was going to have to move house because the rent was going up.
Yep.
And he said to her, and I can't remember the exact figures, but I'll tell you the gist of the story. He said to her, well, how much is the rent going up? $20 a week.
Yep.
And he said to her, he goes, do you mind me asking how much do you get paid? Now this is one of his employees, he had no idea.
Yep.
Right? And it was like $30,000.
Yep.
And he went back to his HR people and he said, can you tell me how many of my people out there earn $30,000?
Yep.
And they came back and he was horrified. Because he said there's no way anybody can live on that sort of
yeah, and it's funny because I see people that do, but it's got to be stressful.
Yeah. So what he did was he went home and he gave it some thought and he came back in and he made an announcement to his management team that as of this date, everybody will be paid $70,000.
Yep.
No more, no less. Right? And he lost a lot of senior managers because they were going to have to come down.
Yep.
But a lot of people came up.
Yep.
And what it meant was, it also meant that he was having to sacrifice his $1 million salary to pay for this.
Yep.
So he had to sell his car. He sold his fancy house. He sold his fancy cars, and he just went back to driving an old shitbox.
Yep.
Anyway, what happened was he noticed that the productivity of the entire team went through the roof.
Yeah.
Turnover went through the roof. He still kept paying everyone 70 grand. He had these employees coming to him going, can I have a job?
Yep.
So they knew they were going to get paid 70 grand once they passed their probation period. And the staff, to show their satisfaction, what they did was, I think there was like 300-400 staff members. One day he turned up to work and he went to park in his parking spot in his old rust bucket, and there was a brand new Tesla sitting there.
Yep.
The staff had gotten together, and it wasn't a lot of money each staff member.
Yeah.
And they bought him a Tesla.
Yeah, cool. Like whatever that works out to, $500 each, but they're
As to say thank you.
Yep.
And he still runs his company on that philosophy that everyone gets paid the same amount, no matter what you do.
Yep.
You get paid the same because you're all important.
I think that brings risk though, because I think if you have a minimum at the bottom, I think that you have to make sure that you meet the minimum level to work there. So pass that probation. If you have nowhere to go from there, you're going to limit. You're not going to have some extremely talented people. You're only going to have that bar And for me, I'd probably be more inclined to go, that's the minimum if you work here. So you can live and you can pay rent and you can buy food and you can get your kids Christmas presents and you can afford petrol at $2 a litre or whatever it is now. But if you're elite, especially like if you're in sales, like salespeople are always going to get paid a lot more than the other people because they bring home the kill. I think that's a risk if you start losing that. But it depends on the business as well. Like you're saying they're a credit card.
I've got another client that privately owned business, largest ammunition and gun importer in Australia. Like I know all their people are paid different salaries, but everyone gets a profit share.
Yeah, that works as well.
And that's a percentage,
yep.
Of course, depending on your level.
Yep.
But everyone from the warehouse gopher to the CEO, everyone gets a profit share.
We got a client that does that, and they've got 400 or 500 staff, and they don't tell people what their percentage is. They just get a number, so they can't reverse, and they're really sensitive about their profit, so they don't want anyone to be able to reverse engineer how much they made. But if we hit these numbers, here's your portion of it. I think you just have to trust that they're giving you profit share, but.
And I'll tell you that the average employee at this company is 15 years.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they stay, because they're looked after.
Yep. Nothing to do with the fact the owner has all the guns.
Yeah, he runs a very top tier. Put it this way, you get the corporate uniforms aren't off the rack stuff.
Yep.
Like he's got a tailor that comes in, makes someone's uniforms, that sort of stuff. You're not allowed to put weight on.
Yep.
He's very strict about it.
Is that even legal?
It's not a rule, but
I'm not buying you some new shirts.
And everyone keeps themselves healthy, fit, look good. But he's got his own full production team in house and that sort of stuff. So you said you've got a graphic designer.
Yeah, we do full time. So he was meant to be. Is he casual still? He should be. He probably should be full time. He was hired as a graphic designer to work maybe 2 or 3 days a week, and then because I've got a stupidly explosive brain full of ideas, I just said, look, I'll just get you to do full time for these next couple of weeks, because I was trying to do some new label design for Lawn Hub, and now how many months has he been here? 6 months? A year or 6 months?
No, 6 months.
So 6 months later, he's still working full time, because he's basically redesigned. So I've got Hectagon, which is our parent company, and then WaterPro, then Lawn Hub, then Railways, then Dirt Cart, which is an app we're getting developed. So he's building new logos, style guidelines, images for Instagram and Facebook, ads for Lawn Hub. Now we're updating WaterPro's Facebook page. He's got to build new banners. So the graphic design work, it is never ending, and I don't know how we didn't have one before. We have trade specials, if we do promotional emails, all of that has a graphic component to it. So I can Duffy and I talk about it a lot, about the potential that we will start a digital agency underneath the Hectagon group, and then that will basically they'll do the digital work for all of the companies and they'll pay for it, and then we might end up doing external digital work. I just think we're probably a content writer and an ads specialist away from being able to do that and charging for it. But yeah, definitely graphic design. Your videographers will think that they're good at graphic design until you see a graphic designer do graphic design, with respect.
Yeah, so that was probably going to be my next thing after the videographer was a graphic designer, because like my content writer is doing the ebook, which then has to go into Canva, and have some stuff done to it, and which she can do. But I think a graphic designer can do it all.
It just looks different, and you do the best you can with what you've got. Before you have those staff, you write your own LinkedIn articles and you try and get it written when you can, or you'll do Instagram and you'll just point the camera at yourself and do it. But once you see the video quality of a videographer, or once you read the copy of a true copywriter or a journalist, or once you see the graphic design, if you do that ebook, you put it into Canva and she can drag and drop and all that, give it to a graphic designer and say, hey, can you do this? And you'll see this, it's just different. Like all the stuff, they go to uni to learn how the human eye sees things and where things should line up. And you can't just drag and drop that in Canva and, and it's the same.
Yeah.
And then that's...
Honestly, I think if you put a graphic designer on, they'll probably go, like I've got the full Adobe suite.
Yep.
And they'll probably go, well, I'm not going to use Canva, I'll go over here now. And
we've got a paid Canva subscription because I use it, because my problem is, and these guys are pretty good and they're pretty available, but the reality is they work a full-time job for me and then they have a life that they seem to care about and want to do. My full-time hours are if I'm awake, right? And probably not in the shower because I can't have my phone at the moment. We're working on that. Now, so if I need to do an image card because I'm like, oh, I want to do a sale on Lawn Hub, I need to make that in Canva myself. I shouldn't because it looks shit, but it's kind of not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, and so I'm just getting it out. I think once you get those people, like, do you use Canva at all? No, but you were a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So they use the Adobe suite, obviously. Canva's there for you to use, like if you need to do stuff, if it's kind of last minute, or if one of them's on annual leave for 2 weeks. We're at a point now where I'm trying to, like, I don't know, how many staff do you have?
well, I got 60 cleaners.
Yep.
In the office, I've got 10 staff members.
So 70 staff, right?
Yeah.
So we've got 40 now across 3 companies, and I'm now at a point which you've probably been through where I'm trying to set up proper management structure so that the managers are actually managing each of their departments, and then I'm just being a strategic director or a strategic head and just kind of saying, this is where I want the company to go. We're not there yet. I think from a digital creation standpoint, the idea is that Duffy will meet with me weekly, monthly, whatever it is, and I'll be like, look, these are the things we've got coming up. We're doing this in December for Lawn Hub. I'm doing a keynote here. I need this filmed. I need this. And then I just need him to make sure that he creates the highest quality and the best versions of whatever he can inside the hours that they've got available to them, and that he manages it, and that I'm not micromanaging it. And then we'll get good. We're still not great at it because I still get involved, and I'll go around him and get his graphic design team member to do stuff. But I think over the next 6 to 12 months, we're doing a lot on policy and procedures and like employee contracts and just getting everything tidied up. Like the business has kind of grown really quickly, and we haven't done a lot of that. I think once we get to that point where all of that's covered, Canva won't be a thing anymore, because we won't need it, because I won't be involved at all. It'll just be pre-planned, and I still want to be dynamic, but enough that they can do it the next day, not that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you've got 60 staff, I don't even know, and don't answer this, but if you've got the profit in it, like, it's interesting. Like you said before, you could retire tomorrow, so you really don't need to do this for money anymore. So if you've got any wiggle room in your wage budget, I'd be hiring whatever you need straight away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Anne and I, we went softly.
Because otherwise you're going to miss the boat.
But we're now going, yeah, we need to do, if you're going to do this, we need to do this properly.
Yeah.
Because there is, look, I'm in that wonderful position that there really is no one in our industry, in Australia, doing this.
Yep.
Right, so if I'm going to kill it,
well, you want to do it. You want to be take the lead and be strong from the start. Otherwise, you're going to miss. Someone else will come and do it. And there's a cleaning company in Adelaide that I know. He's young, doing a lot of content. Created, I think he's done like an academy for cleaning, and like there would be people around there that are starting to kind of do what you would probably argue is your right to do, because you've been doing this long enough. You've got an actual story to tell, and you've got experience, and you can, like reference all of this. I think if you don't do it soon, you might look back and regret it, like not buying Bitcoin for $1 kind of thing. You'll be like, I should have done it, Yeah,
I should have bought Bitcoin a long time ago.
That's right. You should be able to buy it. It'll be nice and cheap in December. So yeah, I'd be trying to and as long as you can manage those guys, because the worst thing you could do is hire the videographer and then a graphic designer, and then they sit there and do nothing because you're not sure what you're going to do with them. Like, I think you need a plan to go, all right, we're going to have a podcast, because you could do a really cool podcast with the clients that you want. So, you know, I don't know, who books the client, the CEO or like who makes that choice, the admin manager or the finance manager? Like, is it varies from business to business?
It varies from business to business.
Yep.
Like with the last site I went to on Monday, I'm dealing with the admin assistant.
Yep.
One of the admin people.
Yep.
Because the bosses don't want to deal with it.
No, but the boss. I mean, if I had a cleaning business, I would be, and I was doing a podcast around it, I wouldn't even have a cleaning podcast. I would do a business podcast, and then use that as a funnel to get into those guys and go, hey, it's Paul. I'm doing this podcast on, you know, local, like maybe like business in Brisbane or Brisbane business or whatever it might be, and then they'll do a podcast with you because you've asked them, and people, you know, love doing it. And then they'll be like, what do you do, Paul? And you're like, oh, I've got a commercial cleaning business, but you know, that's not what this is about. And they're like, well, do you want to quote our stuff? And then you can pass that to your salesperson and their admin person. But I think it's a really nice way to meet people, especially if you enjoy producing the content. Because I love this. Like, I'll talk about business all day long. Like, if you want to, and this, you're like one of the first people that's actually reached out and said, hey, can I talk to you about like this stuff? But people don't ask.
It's the only way you're going to learn. Like I'm hooking up with one of the guys I've been watching a lot of on YouTube from America.
Yep.
He's actually that big nowadays. He wants to charge for it, which is cool.
Yep.
But we're going to do a podcast.
Yep.
And like at first he was sort of hesitant. Why do you want to talk to me? I said, I just want to pick your brains. I just want to put our stuff out there, because he sees himself. He's been in the building game for about the same time. 27 years. And he sees himself, it's YouTube is his way of passing on to the next generation builder the knowledge they need to know.
Because sadly, they can do an apprenticeship, but you don't. It's like having a baby. You got kids?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know how like...
I got a grandchild, so...
Yeah, okay. So you're at the next stage. You go to hospital and they teach you how to have a baby, but no one talks to you about all the shit you have to do after it comes out. Like, they only teach you how to get it. And I think like the building industry is probably the same. You go learn how to be a builder, and then now you're a builder, but there's 27 years of experience that someone else has done of all the pitfalls that you can make that aren't covered at your, I don't even know what you do, master builder's apprenticeship or whatever. Same with business. You get the business, but there's all this learning that someone else has done. So I think this is probably the most beautiful time ever for online learning, and I think we'll start to see a big change in, like you've already seen it with Udemy and all the online training platforms, that people might be more likely to come and watch your cleaning videos or join your cleaning academy or whatever it might be and start their own business, rather than go to uni to do something that's going to take 4 years and cost them $100,000 at the end of the 4 years, because they can see a pathway to becoming an independent contractor or a small business, cleaning business kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, because that's part of what I'm doing in the videographer is part of their role is going to be is we're using a digital platform called EdApp, which is us doing some training modules for our cleaners. And he's going to be doing training videos on how to use a vacuum cleaner, that sort of stuff. But that's all stuff that I can repurpose. Yep,
definitely. You can sell it have a course, sell it for $99 or $299 or whatever.
That's the other thing.
You know.
I've been talking to another guy on LinkedIn about, mate, this guy went from a 6-figure income or 7-figure income with a large company, got burnt out, sort of learned LinkedIn, and that's his big seller, is this LinkedIn manual on how to use LinkedIn properly. It's him and I think 3 other staff members. He turned over $1.3 million and 98% profit margin. Yeah,
because you're just selling courses, and that's, I mean, I'm doing a speech on the 26th to about 100 people, business owners that are kind of $0 to $100,000 looking to grow, and we'll film that. And it's my intention to move into that space a little bit. The training market, you can make a lot of money. I don't want the money for the sake of the money, but the money helps me kind of do all the growth that I'm trying to do. So if, you know, I'm not stressed about burnout, and like, I'm happy to do the work, and maybe that'll change as I get older. But I want to try and find what's the best use of my time And I think sharing that knowledge, I enjoy talking about it and like the things that we've done. And as we talked about with you sharing your pricing, I have no fear that someone's going to come and replicate an irrigation store or replicate my lawn hub business and just tear my whole empire down. Like it doesn't come into the radar. I enjoy, you know, even talking to you, and like I've got stuff from talking to you that's going to be able to help me. Like it doesn't have to just be a one-way thing. And I think once you start sharing more will get shared with you. Like that's, I guess, that abundance and karmic kind of view on the world, if you want to put it that way. So
yeah.
But
well, mate, I suppose I think I referenced it before, but I can't strongly recommend reading They Ask You Answer anymore.
Yep.
If you're not a big reader,
yeah, I'm an audiobook guy.
You can do audiobook, or there's 2 videos that cover the book on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
The other one too that I follow a bit is Donald Miller. He brought out a book called Building a Story Brand.
Yep.
And that's all about, you'll notice if you hop on my website, I don't talk about us at all.
Yep.
It's all about the customer.
Yep.
And story brand's built on, the customer should always be the hero.
Yep.
You're the guide.
Yep.
And you're not there to take any credit. You're there to make, if they feel good, then you feel good.
That sentence that you just said is podcasting in a sentence. Like,
Okay.
Early in the podcasting piece, and this, what we're doing now, I feel is more a conversation than a podcast, but early in the piece, I would talk over my guests and I would get excited and I'd talk about my opinion on the question that I'd ask them. And once I realized that the client is meant to be the hero in the story, as a podcaster, you're just there as a guide. And it's exactly what you just said in business. You're just there as the guide. And it doesn't, the podcast will be revered more if you guide them well and you get that natural credit, if that's what you're looking for, or dopamine, or whatever makes you feel good about the podcast being well received.
Yeah.
You still made it. But the problem for people with my personality is that I want to keep talking. I want to feel the silence. So that's...
One of the good ones you did, and I was going to ask you, how's the kid with the wheelbarrow going?
He's still going. I think he's got a lot of learning to do. Him and his mum and I, we don't really talk, but his mum and I are both, when we're in a room with the 3 of us, and he's just like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to own my own airline. And I look at her and she's like, yeah, I know. And like, we don't even have to say it. And I've kind of said to him enough times, like, dude, just calm down. Like, and be respectful to the people that have walked the path before you. Like, people are going to enjoy the fact that, can you get me one of these out of the fridge, please? People are going to enjoy the fact that you've got all this energy, but it's a danger to potentially be disrespectful to the people that have walked the path before you. I think he's out of school now. I don't know if he's out. He might be driving now, but he's working. I know some people that are using him for stuff, so I don't know how many staff he's got yet, but yeah, that was an interesting one.
But mate, like you got to give this kid credit. Like, he got a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
That he could fit everything into.
Yep.
And then he would go around looking for work.
Because he couldn't drive. Because he wasn't old enough.
I'd give him a job. Right.
Well, that's the thing. And the thing is, he's so entrepreneurial, he wouldn't take a job. He doesn't want to work for someone. He wants to run a business, which is like, he's like, and I did say to him, it wouldn't be a bad idea for you to go do 2 to 4 years with a high-end residential landscaper and just shut up and listen. He's not going to. It's just he can't. It's not his personality. He'd rather learn from his mistakes than learn from other people's mistakes. So he's going to do that. But he's 17.
So he's a Gary Vee in the making.
Yeah, basically. So even if he stuffs up for the next 10 years, he's 27, learn a lot. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You go bankrupt and the government give you money for the rest of your life. Like,
yeah.
a very lucky country. So,
I was like that. I remember I was working as an 18-year-old. I was nearly married. I would have been 19.
Nearly married?
Well, I was married at 19.
Jesus. What year was that?
86.
Yeah, the 80s. Not happening like that anymore.
And I was a driveway manager at a full service station, and I had one of the most awesomest bosses in the world, and he would talk to me every day and that sort of stuff. And one day I came in, he goes, "I've organised you to go and see a guidance counsellor, a career counsellor."
Yep.
I said, "Why?" He goes, "Trust me, I think you just need to go and see someone." He obviously saw something I didn't see.
Yep.
I went and saw this career counsellor, and I reckon I was sat there for about an hour and a half talking to her. And at the end of it, she said, "I'm going to give you some career guidance." Like, okay. She said, "You're never going to be happy unless you own your own business." Now, in that entire hour and a half, I never mentioned once wanting to own my own business. I didn't even know I wanted to.
Yeah. Well, you don't know it's a thing, do you? Unless you grow up under an entrepreneurial parent or a family member.
I walked away from that thinking, this woman's mad. She didn't get me at all. And 6-7 years later, I started my own business, and I've never been happier since.
Yeah.
I'm not an employee. I'm not one that takes orders.
Yep.
That's why sometimes I don't get on well with my clients.
Well, luckily, they don't have to be your clients.
That's it. Before I hopped on you, I got an email this morning from a client. Little site that we clean. He wanted to carry on off a child, so I said, "Look, go and find another clinic."
Yeah, here's a list of the ones that we usually lose quotes to on price. Give them a call first. You'll like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, mate, thank you.
No worries.
Thanks for your time.
You going to go hire a videographer now?
I'm going to be doing the ad this afternoon.
I'll email you the ad we use to hire ours.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just for you to reference it. It might be of benefit. One last thing I'll say, we had a bit of heat on Twitter when we were hiring, not the last one, but the one before, because we were advertising the role at $20 to $25 an hour, I think it was. Or maybe, yeah. As far as Fair Work SA were concerned, at the time there was no award for what we were hiring for. So they were happy for us to consider the person on the retail award, because the majority of our staff are on the retail award, and therefore we weren't doing anything wrong. There was a small community on Twitter that believed that videographers are artists and they should get paid $100 an hour to work filming me talk shit. They probably deserve it, but there's the commercial reality that it's not happening. So if you're looking for like the category to put it in, I guess they probably still fit under your award. I don't know if that'll come up or not, but if you can't find an award for them, it's likely because it doesn't exist. So. Well,
the last bit of advice I'll ask from you is, so my content writer, she's on about 60 odd.
Yep.
I was sort of thinking that for a videographer.
Yep. I'd say if you started, even lower than that, to be honest. Hey, it's hard because this is him. He's talking about his wage. We were paying out of like uni, like retail level 2, which is about full time, kind of $24-25 an hour. I think if you want a good one that's going to be able to manage things and like you're going to give them more responsibility, that 60 is a good point to start with. This is Duffy. Yeah. Now he's trying to have a pay negotiation with me while you're talking to me, just by looking at me. If they're full time, I would say 55 to 60.
That's what I'm thinking.
If you find a good one that you can trust, that understands your business and you, and they fill in gaps that you haven't realised are there, and then that's when you'd probably look at going up from that. And then if they're managing teams, that's when it kind of goes up even more from that. But yeah. I think you could easily pick someone up for 55 to 60 for a full-time job at the start. I think if you can get it on Seek or whatever you use over there, if Seek's the platform, that I found that gives the job a legitimacy because it's on Seek, and then somehow find a way to get it shared into Facebook groups, even if it's your copyright person. If she's in that community, or you can post it as like, here's an opportunity. There'll always be opinions from the people in that group, like, oh, this is bullshit, like they should be paying more for this, but you'll also have 50 people that were like, oh my God, this is the perfect job for me. They're working at Coles or Woolworths stocking shelves. All they want to do is do video work, and you've given them this opportunity to get started. So yeah, I'd focus on that, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the chat. I'll let you know when I'm in Brisbane next.
There's a
Yeah, mate, yeah, it'd be great.
Brisbane Filmmakers Network group.
Duffy just said there's a Brisbane Filmmakers Network group.
That's literally what it's called.
That's what it's called. So you'll be able to search it. Brisbane Filmmakers Network group.
900 members in that.
900 members, yeah. So they'll know someone who might know someone. The other option is to email the ad to local universities for people that might be about to finish, being that it's at the end of the year. You'll get a lot of applicants. You could ask them to apply in video if that helps.
Oh mate, that's the only way they're going to do it.
Yeah. So I had some really cool video applications. Then we had Duffy's, which was like a bit of an odd one, but you know, we still hired him. So we're trying to get our diversity in check. So we had to hire a migrant worker just to kind of make sure we're ticking that box. But thanks for the chat. I do plan to be in Queensland a lot. My wife and I have we have gentle discussions about moving to Queensland every week. I want to live up there. She's more comfortable waiting for a little bit longer. But I have every intention of owning Water Pro shops up there and having a Lawn Hub distribution centre up there as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'll reach out when I'm in the area. And
Yeah, that's me when you're up here.
yeah, and I'll email you the ad,
Yep.
and I'll take a look at some of those books.
Done.
I hope that's
Thanks,
helped.
mate.
No worries. Good to chat to you.
Thanks.
See you, mate.
Bye.